pickle sandwich.
Yummy.
Kung Fu style.
Perfect.
And then Jet Li wrap with DMXO sauce.
Wait, some type of Kung Fu James Bond?
Wow, it's so full of flavor. Asian takeout. Sundays at 9 on Warner TV.
Destroy Superman and the Justice League.
You're mine. Working together, we saved the planet. We would be a force that could truly work for the ideals of peace and justice.
Superman rocks!
You're going to have one last fight, and you're going to lose badly.
Catch Justice League every Monday to Friday at 6:10 p.m. on HBO Family.
Hello and welcome to the Tvwan Midday News. Recently appointed acting CEO for the Laloki Psychiatric Hospital says the appointment comes with huge challenges. Dr. Ludwig, a psychiatrist, outlines significant changes that need to be made immediately to pay structure, the downgraded level of the hospital that currently sits at level 3, and the lack of capacity, as the hospital only has 2 doctors currently when there is space for 5. The critical need for Department of Personnel Management to fill the 32 funded vacancies is urgent.
Human resource problems. At the moment, there's only 2 doctors. We have space for 3, at least up to 5 doctors. There are a lot of vacancies in a lot of areas, especially in rehabilitation, occupational therapy, outpatient. So there's a lot of vacancies. Also, our positions are quite low. So the CEO position is actually grade 16. For example, the last time they advertised the CEO grade 16 position, there were only 3 applicants. But I'm glad that Dr. Downey has come here and has put everything in place. He's cleared the path for us. He put in a lot of things. I'm determined with the management to get this hospital back to level 4, at least by end of 2025.
The government of PNG and the Morobe provincial government will have a combined share of 30% in the upcoming Wafi-Golpu copper gold project. 10% of this stake will be given to the Morobe provincial government, while the national government retains 20%. Prime Minister James Marape, in highlighting the outcomes of his meeting with the head of Newmont Corporation at the margins of the World Economic Forum, said the government is committed to advancing this project, with the mine development contract expected to be finalized in February. This, he says, is to ensure the MDC is signed at the earliest to allow the project to move toward a final investment decision and subsequent development. NCD Education Services First Assistant Secretary Peter Kantz has cleared the air over the removal of Gerhu Secondary School Deputy Principal, Human Resources Elizabeth Tandoa, stating that the decision to remove her was based on merit. Kantz said the division found out that Tandoa's appointment was not on merit and therefore decided to remove her using correct appointment processes and procedures. He issued this statement after students and parents demanded for her reinstatement as Gerhu Secondary Deputy Principal, Human Resources. Kantz has urged Ms. Tandoa to use the right processes in addressing her grievances over her discharge. The timeline for Papua LNG remains on track, with a final investment decision expected later this year, says the Prime Minister James Marape. This is following his meeting with the heads of ExxonMobil and Total Energies, respectively, on the sides of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. He said it was pleasing to note that both developers reiterated their commitment to progressing not only Papua LNG, but also associated projects such as Pyang LNG. The Prime Minister said the delay in the Papua LNG project was due to cost concerns, causing the developers to go back to the drawing board. Re-engineering and re-scoping is now moving towards the next phase of development. The federal and territory governments have announced a suite of funding measures for domestic violence services across the Northern Territory. The Commonwealth money includes an investment in Central Australian legal services to extend support to victim survivors in remote communities, which the sector says couldn't come sooner.
A boost in federal funding welcomed by DV services in desperate need.
$9 million in total is coming from the Central Australia plan.
What we see at the moment, because we are so underfunded, especially by the Northern Territory Government, is that we're operating at a crisis response.
The Legal Support Service, one of 4 organisations in Central Australia to receive federal money for programs addressing domestic violence. The funds, to be pulled from the $250 million Commonwealth support package for the region, pledged at the start of 2023. The federal government also promising separate funding for 14 emergency homes for women and children in Alice Springs.
We have announced over $7 million to develop 56 safe places here in Alice Springs.
The Territory Government joining in with a pledge of $8.6 million to help domestic violence survivors access essential services. Funds, it says, are separate to its election promise of $180 million to the sector.
It's a joint initiative with the Northern Territory Government and the Federal Government. Again, it's something that's being worked on over the last 18 months.
It's well known that the need is enormous and services are overwhelmed.
The NT government holding off to the end of the month to allocate more funds.
Australia has the most organic farmland in the world, but producers say current labelling laws mislead consumers and are crushing trust in the industry. A proposed law change being pushed by the coalition will define the word organic, weeding out producers who falsely label their produce as organic.
These cauliflowers are certified organic, free of chemicals and ethically sourced. Cut from the stem at this organic farm in South Australia's Murray Lands, which is fighting for stricter labelling laws in Australia.
It's a very uneven playing field.
A lack of national regulation around the word organic is leaving producers and consumers high and dry.
I mean, the fact that it isn't regulated definitely does allow for other producers to greenwash.
There is a loophole which a small number of unscrupulous operators do use to put the word organic on the packaging when not all of the ingredients are organic.
And with 5 organic certification bodies in Australia, it's a complex market shoppers have to navigate.
From a consumer perspective, the onus really falls on them to check the label and know what to look for in order to be 100% sure that what they're buying is fully organic and certified.
Australia has the most organic land in the world, but farmers are fighting to legislate the organic industry, which some say would benefit consumers.
I think definitely it'll clear up any waters that perhaps are muddied, that the consumer don't understand, and they realise they can buy it in confidence and know that it's actually a certified organic produce.
Australia is the last developed country in the OECD without a legal definition for the word organic, making exports costly, requiring farmers to prove their credentials to each individual country. The proposed National Organic Standard Bill aims to introduce a single certification standard recognized internationally that all Australian producers would follow.
Export is, a really important part of our future. So this really would be, I think, quite a bit of a game changer for us.
The coalition introduced the bill to Parliament, but it's now the subject of a Senate inquiry.
I think Australian consumers are getting done over by foreign imports who can have less than 2% of their ingredients as organics and put an organic sticker on it.
The Agriculture Department told the inquiry the cost of regulating the industry would outweigh the benefits and disproportionately affect smaller organic producers. The federal government says it will consider the proposed bill and the Senate inquiry findings, set to be tabled at the end of the month.
The federal and territory governments have announced a suite of funding measures for domestic violence services across the Northern Territory. The Commonwealth money includes an investment in Central Australian legal services to extend support to victim survivors in remote communities, which the sector says couldn't come sooner.
Class is in session for the Northern Territory's newest cohort of teachers, including arrivals from interstate and overseas.
I've wanted to come and really experience what Australia is kind of really like and the diversity that it has.
A good experience, good learning experience on just coming up first year and getting straight into it.
For those returning to the Territory, there's words of wisdom for the first-timers.
Expecting the unexpected. That's the advice I can give them. Expect the unexpected. Always believing that whatever strategy you may come up with, they may not work.
With 146 new teachers and 23 principals, it's one of the biggest intakes in recent years. But there's still a significant shortfall, 110 vacancies.
Some of those positions will be filled from department staff that do have their teaching degree.
The shortage having a trickle-on effect.
The flow-on effects of shortages is that it puts a lot of pressure back onto the people who are already there. So you do have people backfilling, working 2 jobs at once, having split classes.
Teachers in the Territory are often required to do more than just educate. They can find themselves being makeshift social workers, sports coaches, drivers and family counsellors.
There's only so much we can do to prepare people in those instances. It comes back again to making sure we have the systems in place once they're there to receive that support if they need them.
Plenty of learning ahead.
Port Moresby Vipers is amongst 16 rugby league teams set to participate in the 9th Premier League or 9PL in Gold Coast, Australia. The 2-day event has drawn some big-name retired rugby league players. Amongst players are Andrew Fifita, Ben Barber, Matt Bowen and Jared Hayne. The Port Moresby Vipers have sent a formidable side to participate at the tournament. It would be a good pre-season shootout for the National Capital District franchise to trial ahead their 2025 Digital ExxonMobil Cup campaign. The 9PL Rugby League 9s tournament will be held this Saturday and Sunday. That's been the Midday News. Join us for more news and sports at 6 p.m.